Recorded Books and One Click Digital present Finding Amos by J.D. Mason, ReShonda Tate Billingsley, and Bernice L. McFadden. Narrated by Kevin R. Free. Amos. He was barreling down the dirty road leading toward Tupelo, Mississippi, in his copper-brown 1969 Cadillac Eldorado. Amos was returning for the first time since he'd walked down the same road 12 years ago, determined to leave his childhood home forever. Yet he remembered every curve, every crook in that old road. He'd promised never to set foot in that small country town again. Amos had been 17 then, with $78 in his pockets that he'd saved from too many summers of picking cotton. He swore he would not grow old in a place like this, the way his daddy was doing. And he sure as hell wasn't dying down here. When he left, he'd headed north. Amos hopped on a bus to Detroit and never looked back. The only reason he was returning now was to show his old man that he'd been wrong about his son. Amos tapped his fingers on the steering wheel, listening to the sound of his own voice playing through the speakers. He bobbed his head and sang along to lyrics he'd written. It was his first single release, and he didn't doubt that there would be many more to come. "You made a fool out of me, baby," he sang, "but I'll gladly be the fool over you." All he'd ever wanted to do was to sing and make music. He was born with a melody in his head so strong that it dared him to chase after it all the way to Motown. His daddy never believed he could do it. He said Amos should stay on the farm like all the other boys were doing. "You play that piano and sing to have a good time, boy. Good time party, hooping and hollering like you ain't got nothing better to do. But a real man works. He goes out into the world and puts in his time." Amos used to sit on the top step of the porch at his daddy's feet. A real man. His daddy used to throw those words around for Amos's benefit. A real man works. A real man's hands got calluses. A real man's got a crooked back from being bent over all the damn time working in them fields. Nah. As often as he had to listen to his daddy telling him that, he never bought into it. Real men were cool. They sat on top of bar stools, with guitars straddling their knees, singing out into audiences filled with fine women made up pretty and smelling nice, nodding their heads and swaying their round hips to the sounds of soulful music. Amos was tired of listening to his daddy complain about what kind of a man he should be. And that afternoon, sitting on those steps, he knew that the next words to come out of his mouth would be the words to seal his fate, and finally set him free. Or get him killed. "What about Bo Carter, Robert Johnson, Papa Charlie McCoy, Otis Redding, Chuck Berry, Little Richard?" His daddy cut his eyes at him. "What about 'em?" "They make music. Music you listen to all the time. You mean to tell me that you don't think what they do is work? You mean to say they ain't real men?" Southern boys knew better than ever to challenge their daddies. Amos knew better too, but more than that, he knew what he wanted and what he didn't want. He didn't want to become the man his daddy was. His daddy's gaze sliced right through him. "You ain't Bo Carter. You ain't Robert Johnson or Otis Redding." "But I could be," Amos protested, standing up to his old man in a way that he had never had the courage to before. "You don't know." His daddy leaned forward and balanced his elbows on his knees. "Your mama done filled your head with nonsense, son. Ain't nothing special about you or what you want to do. All I know is what I know. You stay here, you work alongside me out there." He pointed to the fields across the dirt road. Amos swallowed and felt his heart racing in his chest. "I ain't working myself to death in them fields, Daddy." His father slowly stood up and adjusted his pants. Amos thought for sure his old man was getting ready to take off his belt and beat the mess out of him, but the old man just huffed. "I expect you to be gone by morning," was the last thing he said to Amos before going back inside the house. When his mama passed away, Amos had